Hello and welcome back to P10C Talk, the show where we talk about the CZ P10C. I'm your host Jason, and today's episode is about grip texture or grip surface, gripability, grippiness, the grip of the CZ P10C, and really the P10 series or family of firearms, as it's all pretty much the same. Now, the grip, specifically the aggressiveness of the grip texture, and the ergos too, but ergonomics too, but the grip texture, the aggressive grip texture of the CZ P10C is one of my favorite features of the platform, but admittedly also one of its most divisive. And for that reason, I'm introducing an intruder to the table for, discussion's sake, the HK VP9. Now, the HK VP9 is one of the world's other finest polymer striker-fired firearms, but in my household specifically, it holds the distinction of being the pistol that people who immediately find the aggressiveness of the P10C grip to be distasteful, this is the pistol they gravitate towards, out of several others, right? And the difference between the two is really in your definition of comfort. I mean, there's other differences than just that. But the ergonomics, I find, of both these pistols to be phenomenal. The difference fundamentally is in how the grip feels in your hand. P10C, and we'll dive into it pretty quick, shortly anyway, is in its aggressiveness. The VP9, on the other hand, is in its just ergonomics, right? Not only is this the most configurable polymer grip that I think exists, it has interchangeable back straps, interchangeable side panels in 3 sizes of each. So that's just 9 different pieces that you can put together, I think, in like 27 different combinations or something like that. Realistically, there's 2 configurations that get used the most often in this house, and that is all mediums or all smalls. And, the rest of those options are what they are. But the texture on this is very subdued compared to the P10C. It's got this, writhing larva texture. I don't know what the hell you would call that, but it's that sort of series of, whatever. I don't know what to call it, right? But it's not abrasive, although it is, textured. You can feel it. It does feel like you're gripping something. But the real magic, again, is in the ergonomics and its configurability. The hump back here is great for people who are wanting to feel deep into the gun, over the gun, but also allowing their hand to interact with the bottom of it to keep it, steady. It's got the finger grooves, but not the big egregious ones that the Glock Gen 3s have. I hate those, by the way. These are fairly subtle, and even for my bigger fingers, I don't feel uncomfortable like I did with the Glocks, where I'm like riding the ridges, or feel like I am anyway. It's a great grip, right? And it's, again, comfortable. And so that leads me to a whole other conversation really about what is comfort. To me, and I might be in the minority here, comfort is knowing that the gun is going to stay exactly where I want it while I'm shooting it. For others, it seems to be not like comfort is. That's part of it, but also sort of not distracting them from what they want to be focusing on. We don't really think about this very often, but shooting a pistol accurately, quickly, and safely, especially under pressure, you add all these things together, it can be really difficult to do. And so I appreciate people that want to minimize their distractions to be able to focus on the thing they want to focus on, whether it be marksmanship, safety, the range commands, their stage plan, whatever. I get it. And quite frankly, the P10C grip can be distracting because of its aggressiveness. So let's, before we get into any other conversation, another quick note about the VP9. I absolutely love this pistol. I do. It's a fantastic pistol. I shot it reliably in competition for a long time. This is the P10C talk show. If pushed, I'm going to choose a P10C, but before I anger all the HK bros and broettes, let me just say that I am totally 100% committed to #paddlegang, right? I think the paddle is the superior mechanism for ejecting a magazine from a firearm. Button is, is Neanderthal method, right? I love the paddle, love it. But that said, I'd choose the P-10C over the VP9. The pedal isn't enough of a difference maker that I would forego the P-10C. And there's a couple other differences about the guns, right? And this is not really intended to be a comparison, but the P-10C does have lower bore axis. That's never been a problem for me with the VP9, but it is true. I feel like, first of all, the VP9 doesn't fit in the CCP box without special base plates, which then precludes the availability of a magwell, which is what I use in competition. Again, this isn't a competition video. That video has already been published, or at least configuring the P-10C for competition. But here is a Carry Optics version of my P-10C. This fits, more than fits the box for Carry Optics in my sport, but this will work for demonstration. But this fits in the compact carry pistol division box with a magwell and a magazine. This barely fits with a modified magazine base plate. So even though this is a fantastic gun, I shot it pretty well in competition under stock service pistol, IDPA stock service pistol. It doesn't meet the requirements of my current situation anyway. So the comparison between the two, I guess, is what I'm trying to say in long words, kind of moot for me. That said, it's a fantastic firearm, but this is P-10C talk, and we're talking about grip. So let's talk about why someone might choose a VP9 over what I consider to be the best polymer frame striker fired gun on the planet. If you've never held a P-10C, welcome to the P-10C grip texture. It's a series of raised polymer blocks occur on the side strap, on the front, on the sides of the frame. I don't know what to call it, side strap, that just seems wrong. The front strap, and the interchangeable back strap. These raised polymer blocks provide, some decent traction. On the side panels, they're less pronounced. On the back strap and front strap, though, these things really protrude from the frame, and I'm hoping I can get a good profile view of these as they would be, interacting with your palm or your fingers up front. These things are like little jigsaw, or not jigsaws, they're like sawtooth blades, right? And so when you apply pressure to the grip, first time you pick up a P-10C, you will feel those blocks. Now, my hands are pretty big and dumb, but as you can see, just a little bit of pressure on this grip leaves proof that I've been holding a P-10 in both my fingers and my palm. Now, obviously it goes away. The length of time between when you grip the P-10 and this going away has everything to do with how long you're holding the P-10 and whether or not you need to seek medical attention. But it is pronounced. You do feel it. And what that means is when I'm holding this gun is holding me back, not back, but holding me in return, right? It's making, we're connected here in a way that goes beyond just wrapping my hand around the circumference of it. It's digging into my hand, and that provides an amazing amount of stability. Everyone who's watched me shoot this firearm has, well, not everyone, but tons of people say, like, what do you do to that gun to keep it so flat? And the answer is I hold on to it, and it holds on to me. One of my favorite features of the platform. Again, though, if you're not accustomed to this, if you have less meat on your hands, if you're a casual shooter or just shooting for fun, you're not serious about another purpose over and above that trumps the importance of comfort, this will be distracting, or certainly can be. Now, there's things you can do, right? If you don't know, there's a whole cottage industry of grip enhancements, whatever enhancement means to you. In the old days, we had all metal firearms with grip panels that you could apply. Now, in the case of the 1911, you had a mainspring housing, which is effectively a backstrap. You could curve that, uncurve that, serrate it, or checker it, whatever you needed to do to improve its traction in the back of your hand. But you could do the same thing along the metal front strap for most guns. I preferred mine checkered. I think the P-01s are just like vertically serrated. It doesn't matter. You can do things to the firearm to make it grippier, change your grip panels, etc., and so forth. Once the polymer frame firearms, took off, The evolution of that has been somewhat similar in that they've included these interchangeable back straps, or like in the case of the VP9 side straps. There's some other alternatives that are similar to that. And then there's like even the new modular striker-fired polymer handguns where you could just add a metal frame to it if you want. So there's a lot of changes in the industry when it comes to grip. But there, again, like I said, there's a cottage industry of just affecting polymer grips, to make them more configurable to a user's preferences. And they go everywhere from just, sort of the universal application of something like Pro Grip to your hand to improve your grip, to hockey tape or skateboard tape. They have laser pre-cut tapes of different texture. This is a rubberized one. They make granulate ones. They make things that are in between the two. This is from Talon Grips, but there's other companies that do this too. Then there's ultimately, you can go all the way up to replacing your back strap with something like this one. This is a Taylor Freelance brass back strap, and the texture on it, while still a little grippy, is way less aggressive than the back strap. Of course, if you were not a fan of that, you still have the front strap really to contend with, but you could sand it down, right? There's also stippling. Stippling is when they take a soldering iron or something else extremely hot and specific to the polymer frame to change the texture of the frame, right? Some frames benefit from this more than others. The VP9 frames are notoriously thin up here, so I don't think you get too many people that change the front strap anyway with the soldering iron. But the side panels and the back straps, there's a guy out there who puts silica carbide, which is another option too, right? You paint epoxy onto your frame and you douse it with silicon carbide dust, and it's essentially the same thing as a more permanent granulate or skateboard tape solution. Now, for my part, I think there's, we could also just sand off all of this stuff. And if I did that, I guarantee you that the acceptance rate in my household, around people I know, of the P-10C's grip would skyrocket. But I have never bought a P-10C for the purpose of like finding a solution for them yet. And I may, because I don't want to donate one of my frames to that effort. For me, I'm considering trying this. This is why I have it out. This is the Talon Grips rubberized finish for a P-10C. I think this is the medium backstrap. I'll have to double check. It might be the small. But this would allow me to sort of cover up those protruding blocks with something a little less, I guess offensive is the word. I don't know. I love it. But maybe I'll try this first. I haven't really committed to it yet, obviously. And see if the opinion of holding this gun changes for anyone. Because like I said, the ergonomics of it are fantastic. It's just got a little bit of a palm swell, not much. But everybody whose hand has gone in it, the only complaint, maybe they haven't been able to get past the protruding texture, but no one has said that they don't like the way it feels outside of being stuck like like the gun hates them. Okay, so again, we covered the modifications to the grip texture that you can make either by replacing the backstrap with something less aggressive, sanding, taping. You can also be more aggressive, right? Like the silica carbide, epoxy, silica carbide, a full granulate skateboard tape solution. These more aggressive grips, though, they can skew the balance. There is a balance in the grip, right? There is the benefit of having this thing just like stick to your hands, but also the ability to, without much thinking or conscious effort, to adjust an improperly built grip. Either, it happens. You get a weird draw, you might be running and drawing, you might be, the weather might be weird, and there could be all kinds it could be a pickup or after a reload that went a little wonky. You can end up with a grip that is less than perfect. And with the P-10C, just a little less pressure on the gun allows me to change my grip and then reapply a high degree of tension to the gun in the right way, and I'm back in business. I've used full granulate solutions, and the thing that occurred to me most often was that I couldn't correct a grip without a very conscious and deliberate, time-sucking effort to do that. And time, what does it matter if you're at the range? It doesn't matter if you're just at the range. But if you're competing and you get a weird grip, either because you picked it up from the table weird, it's pretty common when you have a loaded table start to like pick the gun up like this, so you're not pushing down on the gun and inadvertently ejecting a magazine. So people will pick up the gun weird, and then they have to build their grip as they're going. If you've got too much grip on your grip, the granulate or whatever, that can be a very it can be a two-handed operation. I'm probably exaggerating that, and maybe, like I said, I might be over-romanticizing the value of the P-10C grip just a little bit, but it really does strike that balance of giving you exactly what you're willing to put into it as far as grippiness goes. Hopefully this has been somewhat educational for you. I may come back and amend this or add a reply to it that is, my findings with making modifications to the grip and putting it in other people's hands. But for now, again, one of my favorite features of the P-10C happens to be one of those features that will hang decisions on whether or not to buy the gun. I am a proponent for super aggressive grips. I would encourage you, if you found yourself maybe put off by how grippy the P-10C grip was, to sort of reinvestigate it under the terms of it doesn't necessarily, if you're operating a machine that is capable of the application of violence, maybe it doesn't need to be so dang comfortable anyway. Yes, you need to be not distracted by it, but at the same time, maybe that feedback of a less comfortable, more aggressive grip is worth considering. And that's really the takeaway here, I think. I'm not changing my mind about an aggressive grip texture. I love it. But if you do, maybe you look at one of those options like stippling or sanding or tape, or if not, there's always something like the VP9. It was great talking to you guys today. I hope if you have any questions, put them down in the comments. I hope you like this content. If you do, like it, and subscribe. Apparently I'm supposed to ask people that. That's what everybody on the internet does these days. I look forward to talking to you again soon. I don't know what the next one is. I started doing trigger pulls on a bunch of different P-10Cs to get to a question that's come up more than once, and that is, what's the individual benefit of each one of these modifications? I don't know that I'll get to it in any detail in the very near future, but I am working on that in general. I hope you have a great New Year's. It's almost New Year's Eve, and look forward to talking to you more in 2024. If I don't talk to you one more time before the end of this one, stay safe, shoot straight, and I'll see you on the range.